Let's take a look at some of the options that we have with rulers and guides. These are some features that will help you position things on the page. If you still have the file open from the previous lesson, you can continue along with it. If not, you could open up my version. I saved it as PLP Logo 3, and you'll find it in the Chapter 1 folder of the project files. Let's start with looking at rulers. Right now you see I have a horizontal ruler and a vertical ruler. Now if you don't have rulers visible on your machine, there's a couple of ways that you can turn them on and turn them off. One way, keyboard shortcut, is Control R or Command R on the Mac. That's a toggle. R for ruler turns them on and off. If you want to use the menu instead, you could go up to the View menu and then down here about halfway to Rulers, and then you can show rulers or hide rulers. Now in this document we have two artboards, and by having two artboards I can show you sort of two different options for using the rulers, and they're what are called artboard rulers and global rulers. Artboard rulers are the default, and here's what that means. Right now you see the ruler starts off with 0 at the left edge here of this artboard and continues straight across to the end of this artboard. Now that's because this artboard is active. When I click this one, and try that, when you click this artboard, if you have artboard rulers turned on, notice what happens. The 0 point starts over here and continues. So it's ignoring this other artboard. Now if you click this first artboard, then it switches back. The 0 point is over there. So that's what artboard rulers are. They treat each artboard separately. Now let's say you decide that you want the rulers always kind of like this, always starting with 0 on the first one and continuing off to the edge even if you click the other artboard. What you do is this. Let's go up to the View menu and let's go down back to Rulers, and you see over here Change to Global Rulers. Click that. Now right now it doesn't look like anything has changed because I still have the first artboard selected, but when you have global rulers turned on and you click this other artboard, you notice the ruler does not change because this is global. It's always looking at the entire document and not the individual artboards. Let's go back to the View menu, go back to Rulers, and change to Artboard Rulers. And now you see here the 0 point is on this artboard, or click on this artboard and the 0 point is over there. Now, if for some reason the option to change artboard rulers is grayed out or maybe not working for you, make sure you don't have the artboard tool selected. It seems to be the one tool in Illustrator that if you have it selected, that option to change rulers is grayed out. In addition to rulers, we also have a grid, and Illustrator can put a non-printing grid on the page so you can really see how things are aligned. The keyboard shortcut for that is Control single quotation mark, or on the Mac, Command single quotation mark, and you turn them off the same way with the same shortcut. If you don't like the shortcut, that's okay. You go up to the View menu, and you see over here you can show grid or hide grid. One thing that's I think maybe a little confusing is this is showing Control double quotation marks. Usually I think that, oh, double quotation marks means I have to hold down the Shift key, but not here. It's just simply a Control and a single quotation mark. So one way or the other, let's turn them on. I'll just use the menu here, show the grid. And when you take a close look at the grid, it's especially easy on the white blank areas here. You see we have the kind of major grid lines are dark and the minor grid lines are lighter. And by default, Illustrator puts these darker major grid lines every inch, every 1 inch, and there are 8 subdivisions. Kind of think like a regular old wooden ruler you have sitting on your desk. And if you take a look here in the ruler, you can say, oh yeah, there's 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches. You can change that if you want. Let's go into Preferences. If you're in Windows, go up to the Edit menu. If you're on the Mac, go to the Illustrator menu and go down here to Preferences. And by the way, Illustrator on the Mac works like every other OS X application. A shortcut to get to Preferences is Command, comma, if you want to use that. And about halfway here, we have this option for Guides and Grid. So let's click that. And we come up here. By the way, if you clicked on the wrong one from that flyout, it's all right, because you see this flyout menu is just kind of duplicated here. So here's what I was showing you before. There's a grid line every inch and 8 subdivisions. Well, let's change this. I'm going to make it, let's say, a grid line every half inch. So I'll just type in 0.5, and I want 5 subdivisions. I'll just tap the Tab key over there and type 5. If you want to change the color, you could do that. You see over here with this color box and you can choose a color. Now this is in Windows. If you're on the Mac, it's going to be a slightly different color picker, but I'm sure you get the idea. And now click OK. And now you see the grid is much finer. And if you look up here on the ruler, you can see, all right, there's 6 inches, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. So you have all that. And you don't have to keep setting that. If you like the frequency of the grid, you can turn it off and turn it on, and the grid will remain. So I'm going to press here, Control quotation mark or Command quotation mark on the Mac, press that again, and you see the grid comes back with that same 1/2 inch and 5 subdivisions that I put in a moment ago. If you don't like lines, you could also have dots. Let's go back into that same Preferences menu where we just were. And you see over here the style is lines. If you click that down arrow, you could choose dots. Click OK. And now you see they're dots, but notice that there are no subdivisions. And that's not a bug, that's a feature. Illustrator figures, hey, we just don't want to have all of these dots flooding all over the place because then you can't really see what's going on. So I want to reset those back to the default just before I go on. So I'll set that back to 1, hit the Tab key and make that 8. And, oh, that's right, I want lines, click OK. There we go, and I'll just turn them off, go up to the View menu, and down here, hide the grid. There are also ruler guides, and ruler guides are non-printing lines that you can position yourself on the page, so you can make it easier to move things around or position your artwork. Let's try a horizontal one first. Put your mouse pointer inside the horizontal ruler. You see where my mouse pointer is? It's not below it, it's not up here in the title bar. It's right here inside the ruler, and just click and drag down. And you see you've got this line that you're dragging. I'm just going to drag it on top so it rests on top of these two logos. And now you see it's, I guess, cyan. And we can have vertical ruler guides as well. Put your mouse pointer, you see where my mouse pointer is over here inside the vertical ruler, and just drag out. And I'll put maybe one over there, and I'll drag another one over here resting on the left edge. So when I say that these ruler guides are handy for positioning things on the page, let's try something. Take one of these. I'll take the lighter version of the logo. I'll just kind of drag it over here. And I decide, oh, you know what? I want it to be at the same height as this one. I want it to be on that position on the left side of the page. I'm just going to drag it. And I'm going to drag it towards it. And you notice, first of all, there's some of these little fleeting green lines there. We'll talk about what those are in another moment. But now I can sort of get this object to sort of snap onto those guidelines. Now you can have as many of these ruler guides as you want, and you could move them around too. So let's say if you decide, well, maybe I want this ruler guide over here to be on the right side of the shape, I could just pick it up and drag it over here. Now, if you're having a hard time doing that, if you're trying to drag the ruler guide and it's not moving, it probably means that the guides are locked and you have to unlock them. Go up to the View menu, go down here to Guides, and you see right now on my screen it says Lock Guides because my guides are unlocked, so I have the option to lock them. So if your option over here says Unlock Guides, it means you do have them locked. I'll just click on the background here. If you want to remove the ruler guides, all you have to do is select them and delete them, just like they were any old object. I'll click on this one here, I'll click on this horizontal guide and just delete. I'll just press the delete key on the keyboard. I'll click this one here. You can see even the little fleeting word guide comes out. And I'll click that and delete, and click this one and delete. The last feature I want to show you in this lesson are smart guides. You saw them before briefly when I was moving these shapes around, but let's go to a different file here. I also have open a file called 3 Shapes, and you'll also find that in the Chapter 1 folder of the project files. The smart guides are kind of fleeting. They show up and disappear when Illustrator thinks you need them or don't need them. For example, let's take this red circle here. I'll just sort of drag it around, and notice what's happening right now. It's showing me that the center point of the circle is aligned with the left edge of that green star. I'll drag it here a little bit more, and now you can see even the little word intersect in the middle of the circle there is telling me that, okay, this is now, the middle of the circle is now intersecting with the green star. I'll try dragging the green star around. And I had it there for a moment. I had the center of There we go. The center of the green star is now aligned vertically with the center of the red circle and horizontally with the center of the blue square. Or if I drag it up here like this, you see it's showing me that the top edge, the top point of the circle, is aligned with the top edge of the blue square. Now, I really like these smart guides, but some people find they just get in the way. And here's how you can turn them on and off. It's just personal preference. Go up to the View menu, and you see Smart Guides. I have it checked on. If I click and turn it off, now all the dragging in the world will not have them come up. But I'm going to turn them back on. You can do it whichever way works best for you. And let me show you some options that you can set with Smart Guides. Let's go back to Options, right? Edit menu in Windows, Illustrator menu on the Mac, down here to Preferences, and you see also roughly in the middle we have the category for Smart Guides. And here, kind of like before, you can change the color. You can choose pre-built colors. You can click on the box and choose a color. This is the Windows system colors, or you might be looking at the Mac system colors. And here's some checkboxes, just telling you in what instances will the Smart Guides turn on or not turn on. And down over here you have this tolerance. And that snapping, that means that if an object is within 4 points of the guide, it's going to snap. And you might think, oh, well, gee, why don't I just set this really high? That way I don't have to be so careful and things are going to snap. Well, first of all, the highest this number can go is 10. So even if you go in here and you make it like 100 or something, as soon as you tab out, you see it's changed to 10. So even if you have it at 10, that might be a little too much because things might kind of fly around a little bit on the screen where you don't expect them to. So I'm just going to leave it back there as the default of 4. But again, just like these other issues, whatever works best for you is fine. And incidentally, if you use other Adobe programs like Flash or InDesign or Photoshop, you'll find that they also have rulers and guides and grids. So once you know how to use it in one program, you know how to use it in any of the others.